Hello everyone, this is Shannon from That's So Po, and today I am bringing you week 26 of my 2019 reads. This week I read one book and 3 manga volumes. The book that I finished this week was Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit by Jeanette Winterson, and this is a book which was recommended by Anna at Actual Spinster, who I will link below. This book is very fascinating. It's set in the 1960s, and it's about a young British girl who was adopted by a very evangelical family who is rearing her to become basically a missionary and, perform God's work. This story is, in a sense, sort of autobiographical, but it's a fictionalized account. So the main character's name is Jeanette, like the author Jeanette. And Jeanette Winterson did grow up in an evangelical family. So a lot of it is, I think, based on reality, but sort of a fictionalized version. And it is really fascinating and extremely funny. I was surprised by how funny this book was. There's a lot of dry humor where she's recounting incidents that happened or fictionalized incidents that happened in her childhood, and there's this absurdity, ridiculousness in the existence that she led, but also the seriousness with which she treated it as a child. So for example, entering into an art competition with, hell and brimstone fire type of art piece, and then being very frustrated with somebody who won the competition having like fluffy bunnies and being like, my art is clearly superior, and not really understanding why the fire and brimstone type of art piece wasn't as well received in her school. So there's a lot of interesting stuff like that. I absolutely loved the first half of this. The second half of it, when she grows up and she realizes that she's gay, and she has a lot of falling out with her mother especially, and her church, which was kind of her lodestone. I mean, that was everything to her growing up. That part, she starts to add in a lot of allegories and other stories that are not the main narrative, and I got a little bit lost with those. I think that I don't have the kind of literary background to fully understand and interpret all those allusions, and that meant that I got kind of pulled out of the story. So for the second half, I was rather confused and lost, but I have a feeling that if you're of a literary bent, you would really love that part too. I have a feeling it added a lot of layers of interest and complexity for those who could understand it. That was not me. So I thought this was a really fascinating book. I really liked the author's style, but I did get a bit confused. So for me, I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars, but if you like literary fiction, I think you should give this a try because it's really cool. Next, I finished volumes 1 through 3 of My Little Monster, also known as Tonari no Kaiutsu-kun by Robico. This is a manga series which was recommended by Reija at the book Finch, who I will link below. She did a series, or she's in the middle of doing a series, about Harry Potter house manga recommendations. So she's done Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, and Slytherin, and I think Hufflepuff is coming soon. This series is absolutely excellent, so if you have any interest in manga, you should definitely check those out. I will link them below. And in general, check out Reija's channel if you haven't already, because she does very creative, really thoughtful content. So I was super impressed by these Harry Potter house recommendations. My husband, Sush, is very much Ravenclaw, and when we were watching the Ravenclaw video, he really related to what she was saying about Ravenclaw. And then I'm very much House Slytherin. Not so many people are, but I'm very definitely House Slytherin. And I felt like Reija really got what House Slytherin was about. It's about getting stuff done. It's about ambition. It's about not necessarily letting anxiety or worry about other things get in the way, but just getting things done and having kind of goals and ambitions. And I thought that she really understood the essence of House Slytherin, and then her manga recommendations sounded so good. In particular, I was very intrigued when she described My Little Monster. So I picked up this manga series. Luckily, my library had it, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was so good. I mean, I've only read the first 3 volumes, but I have checked out more from my library, so I'll read more soon. So this series is about a girl who is very, very driven to do well in school. She's all about professional goals. So she's in high school and she wants to study hard. She wants to get absolutely the top grades, get into the top college, and get a very high paying, very professional job. And this is her goal, and she works very hard at it all the time and basically does nothing else. So she doesn't have any friends, she doesn't have any hobbies, she just has nothing else. So she lives a very isolated life. And there is a day when she's asked by a teacher to go and deliver some papers to a student who hasn't been coming to school. And this guy that she delivers the papers to is sort of the opposite of her. He is very emotional and very caring, but he also is very impulsive, and he tends to get into fights really easily. He tends to scare people with kind of how extreme he is, but he latches onto her and just decides that she's his best friend ever. And throughout the course of the first few manga, this guy and her, they develop this really deep connection, and other people start combining with their group and becoming more friends. And so her friend circle just suddenly starts increasing despite her best intentions to just focus on school, and she's forced to really confront what it means to have a connection with somebody else, what it means to be vulnerable, what it means to have other priorities, and how to balance if that kind of connection takes away from the time that she would be using to study. And the people around her are also learning, you know, they all have their own issues with connection. And they're learning, you know, how do we connect with people? How do we work it out when things don't go right? There's so much in this just kind of about, I feel like, the real core issues of growing up and learning how to connect with people and learning how to overcome miscommunication. So I actually really, really love this series so far. The first 2 volumes I gave 5 out of 5. The third volume did involve a little bit of, like, you know, romance drama that was kind of a little over the top for me. So that one I gave 4.5 out of 5. But I am definitely continuing with the series. I'm really loving it so far. So that wraps up week 26 for me. If you've read any of these books, please let me know what you thought of them down in the comments below. Also, if you're a House Slytherin or you know anybody who's House Slytherin, I'd love to hear what you think that means. Or if you check out Reija's videos about the different houses, tell me what house you are and how you think that those recommendations and the way she encapsulated the houses works for you.